Namaste, Adab, Sat Sri Akal, and hello. This is your Parikrama podcast host, Darshan Kaur, back once again after a little bit of gap, and I apologize for that. But the podcast that I have with you for you today, the podcast that I have for you today, is very yummy. And by that I mean that it's about a movie called Four Samosas. I'm feeling hungry right now just thinking about it. With me in the studio is the co-producer and actor of this movie, Venk Potula. Venk was discovered by TV icon Nick Cannon while dancing in the streets of Hollywood. Venk's animated personality and unassuming comedic style, which you will soon see for yourself, helped to launch him into a flourishing career as an inventive, multifaceted writer, director, actor, and producer. So this movie, Four Samosas, has been co-produced by Venk under his crisp entertainment banner. And the movie also premiered at Tribeca Film Festival in the US Narrative Competition and actually has been acquired by IFC Films for North Indian theatrical distribution, which is set for December 2nd, 22 release date. Welcome to Parikrama Studio, Venk.
So happy to be here. Thank you for having me. It's an honor, and I cannot wait to dive into this conversation and share more about myself and Four Samosas and answer any questions that may come up.
Certainly. So, like I said in the intro, Four Samosas is making me feel really hungry. So, it sounds yummy. So, tell us about this movie. Venk, is it a comedy, a thriller, or a little bit of both?
I wouldn't say it's a thriller, but it's definitely a comedy, and it's also a love story. It's a kind of romantic comedy, love story elements, but it's meant to make people laugh and lift your energies and lift your spirits. And ultimately, at the center of the film is a heist. And it's about the character that I play, Vinny, is this wannabe rapper character who finds out that his ex-girlfriend, who he's still in love with, is getting married in an arranged marriage to someone else who's not very kind. And so he decides to launch a heist, on her father's grocery store where he's keeping these diamonds he's using to pay for the wedding. So the whole thing takes place in Artesia, California, which is like LA's Little India. Mm-hmm. And much like all of the little Indias that we have across the US and all over the world, they're kind of this niche area where where transplants can come and kind of be themselves. And so what's great about the film is that we shot at all those locations. So in the sari stores and in the chaat houses and in the big Patel Brothers, like huge stores, is where the heist happens. And so it's very much a film that is from our community and for our community.
That's really awesome to know. So how did you get involved with this movie?
So what happened is Ravi Kapoor, who's the writer, director, and my producing partner, he is someone that I had just built a mentorship-like relationship. Ravi's been he's an actor and a writer and a director and been in a lot of things as an actor. He's acted with Denzel Washington and Brad Pitt, and he's played every doctor on television that you've probably seen him as an actor. But and so I first connected with him when I had recently finished my school, my undergrad, and we just quickly became friends. I started sending him short films and projects that I was creating as well. And I think he, I guess he took a liking in some ways. And a few years down the line, he sends me the script, and it's called Four Samosas. And this is about 2.5 years ago. At the beginning of the pandemic, and I read the script, and there was a character in that script whose name was Venk, written in the script itself. And he had just sent me the email asking me for my general thoughts. He didn't ask me anything other than that. But I have to say, when I saw this Venk character, it was, in every scene, and I was sort of shocked to see that this character, this Venk character, was really in it, and that he chose this name Venk. But it was hilarious. The script was really funny. It was just making me laugh out loud, and that's how you know it's a good sign. So ultimately, I when I talked to Ravi a few days later, he asked me if I would star in the film, and of course I was honored. I said yes, and then he asked me if I would produce it with him, and that's how we kind of began this collaboration that's brought us to this day. Now,
And that's so cool to actually read your name. I'm sure nobody writes a script with the name Darshan in it. Maybe you.
you think that, but then all of a sudden you get a script, and the whole character is named Darshan,
Hey,
and then all of a
you
sudden,
might recall I've known you for a few years, and
yeah.
the first time I met you, I told you I want to act in your movie someday. So you have to keep that in mind,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, definitely. This is just the beginning, and there's many, many more to come from here.
Absolutely, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. But I have a very interesting question to ask you. So given obviously we are Indian Americans, and then we always tell our kids to become doctors and engineers, and,
Yeah.
all that. So, how did your parents, your family, react to you wanting to be in the entertainment industry? Like, was it hard for them? Did they support you? I'm just
Yeah.
very curious.
Yeah. I mean, you know my family, so a part of me almost wants to go, well, I almost feel like we should bring them into the podcast and ask them that question. I don't know how qualified I am, but I'll give it my best shot. I mean, I think a part of me feels like truthfully, I feel that, you know, even I was watching with my mother, Pyasa, Gurudat, and when you watch that movie, at the end of the day, that character that Gurudat plays, that poet, he is going to be that poet, that artist, whether anyone accepts him to be that or not. It's not really in a control that, when you're a creative person like that. I really believe we're all creative people, and some people are just born that way. I find it's very hard to go against that, and I think going against that in some ways goes against the part of who you are that makes it kind of not bearable to continue. And so I think I've been stricken with that curse or blessing, if you will, and it's a challenge. It's very hard, and not and I think, but I do find that I was very sincere and earnest with that, and I've always taken it very seriously. So I think my family probably saw that, and they supported me. At the end of the day, they have always had my back, and I think it was an unconventional path, obviously, and it's a hard path. It's harder than any other path you can do, but I find that in some ways I don't really have another choice, and I just feel very lucky that I do have my family to support me in this. That being said, it's not an easy journey, right? When it comes down to the minutia, the day to day of the difficulties, there are challenges that are there, and there's been a lot of conversations about it, because it's not easy.
Right. And like you said, I do know your parents very well. And every time they talk about you, whenever I run into them, they're very proud of you. I know that because invariably the conversation ends up being about you. I mean, of course, I always ask them how you're doing, but
Yeah,
they are so proud of you. And like you said, you're lucky to have their support, right?
very
So
lucky.
this is good. So then related to this is the next question. Um, like we were saying, mostly Indians or our parents or whatever, they want us to be in IT. I'm in IT, and so uh, most of us, when we grow up, we'll end up doing things that our parents want us to do, right? Like, or people will go into business, if they will open restaurants, or they'll get a grocery store, or else they'll be in IT or in medical field. Some will go into politics, or little we see a little more of that happening with the youth, going into politics, going into literature, going into arts, and entertainment, like you. So how easy or difficult was it for you to make this movie? How did you even happen to make it, or to make other movies or other things, because this is not your first project?
Yeah,
So how did you even how easy or difficult it is for you, like given the background of our community, that you don't get a lot of support usually, and I'm not talking about family support now, but generally, like
generally.
as a community,
Yeah, I
right?
understand. Well, what's interesting is I think I think I felt that maybe that would be the case with this film, but what I found is actually the opposite. Because what happened was when Ravi sent that script to me and I told you, okay, we're going to make this together. You know, when you're making an independent film, it's not a movie that is made by a big studio, right? And so independent film needs to really be championed and supported on a ground floor level. Otherwise, those stories don't get told. And I think what happened with this project, because we see the changing media landscape, that we have more South Asians that are in Netflix shows and Hulu, and people are there. There's Never Have I Ever. There's a lot of there is that next generation that is saying, "Hey, I want to be seen. I want to be heard." Who are maybe not the immigrants that came here, but the children of the immigrants, right? We are the next generation, and we will continue. We're going to be here. So I think that that kind of realization has opened up a conversation around let's see more representation for South Asians in the US, the diaspora South Asians, not necessarily the stories of from India per se, but what's happening here within the communities in the US and in North America or in London. What are these characters doing? What are they studying? Or what are they doing? Just like you asked that question. And so I think what I found was, but this script, we started sending it to people within our South Asian community, specifically in the Southern California area. And we found that people were actually really inspired and interested to support and to join. And, we completely raised the financing, private equity, and it came from a lot of individuals within the Artesia community, within the South Asian community, who said, I'm going to back you guys. I'm going to support this film called For Samosas, which has an entire South Asian cast and is a movie for our community again. I mean, what movie would ever be called For Samosas if it was made in a studio? No, it would never happen. But that's the special thing about the opportunity that is there in the marketplace. And the fact that our community was actually really supportive and helped us to bring it together, I think speaks to the changes that we're seeing now, that it's 2022. It's not 20 years ago how it was, or even 15 years ago. And I think the trend is only going to open up even more in the next years coming.
So very good answer, except I take offense to the fact that you said second generation. I am first
I
generation
didn't mean any offense.
immigrant, and I am in IT. I came here through, my IT job and everything.
Right.
But I mean, like I do podcasts, right? I mean, so I
Yeah.
like to do stuff which normally you wouldn't expect, and so don't discount the people who are first generation immigrants.
No, that's
They have to
I
be
used the terminology differently. What I meant was the children of those who are born and raised here. That's all I meant. Not and I think that's also, it's not to say that it's just them. Let me be clear. It's not just that. What I'm more so saying is that I think that because we've been here a little bit longer and because we have youth, we see that in the TV shows and in the movies that there's more of us. There's more of that demand is all I'm saying. Not that not that there's no contribution to the arts and to these kinds of things. And I'm not trying to be judgmental and say, oh, one person does this and is good and one person does this is bad. That's not what I mean at all.
No, I was just teasing you because I was trying to get to the point that I made earlier that, before, I'm going to be acting in one of your movies. So
Absolutely. No, but that's what I mean.
Just
See,
reiterating that.
no, and I just want to say that that's part of the reason why I'm also a producer in this film, is that this movie was made from the ground up. Like I said, we didn't go to Hollywood. We went to our community and we made this film, but now we are a part of Hollywood. It's getting a theatrical release. It's going to be in over 25 cities and will be on streaming platforms. And it's a movie people will come to know about. You will see. And I think we're very lucky that it has happened this way. It's very, very hard for an independent film to get a release like this, but it happened because we decided to take that action, much like our entrepreneur in an entrepreneurial way. So when you say that, it's not even a joke. It's very real that today you can, if you want to pursue something, even if it seems like it's far away, you can actually do things now in the world we're in to make that a reality.
So you talked about the theatrical release of this movie. So tell us which cities and all it's being released in, and specifically, can we watch it in Atlanta?
Yes, so the cities are coming in. We're getting them as they're coming in right now. I will have to send you that list because it's a long list, but I know we're in Los Angeles, we're in New York, we're in San Antonio, Texas, we're in a lot of places in Arizona, um, in Chicago area as well. So we're kind of in these different pockets all over. But I'm really excited because we're going to be playing it here in Atlanta, which is my hometown where I was raised and where all of this origin story began for me. And we're playing in the Digimax theater in Alpharetta. And I used to watch, I've seen so many movies at that theater. So as a kid growing up, so I just can't wait to have my film play in that theater and for our community, our Atlanta South Asian and non-South Asian community to watch this and watch and enjoy this film.
That is so amazing and so exciting, I'm sure, for not only for you, but for all of us.
I know, it's amazing. It truly is. I'm so happy, and I wish I could be there. I'm going to be in LA doing everything there, but I will be there in spirit, and if I can, I will make sure to be on FaceTime to to at
Well,
least somehow participate.
we'll have your podcast, right, playing, so people in Atlanta can watch this interview, right?
Amazing. Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
so, what next? What is next for you? I know we got this movie, release coming up. We just talked about it. Any other exciting projects that you can talk about? I do understand sometimes you're under
Yeah.
contract and you can't. Is there anything that you can tell us?
Yes, definitely. So I mean, I can't disclose all the details, but what I can say is I'm attached to a couple projects with myself to act in those projects, and also as a producer and co-writer as well. And one of them that I'll just describe briefly is kind of takes the South Asian community and the Latinx community and and puts them together in a musical, actually, in a coming of age heartfelt sort of musical that will take place in LA, and it should be another uplifting, feel-good story. And I'm excited, to start that journey and start that process. But I think at the end of the day, whatever I try to do, I want to put out a good message, and I want to lift people's spirits, especially because there's so many. It can be it's a challenging world we're living in. I think we can all agree that there's a lot of problems, let's say. So I think that our entertainment should be able to provide some levity in there and maybe even some reflection as well. And that's what I hope to do with what I do for the rest of my career.
No, this is really amazing because you do have a great platform, So, like, for example, when I do podcasts, I feel like I have a platform to be able to talk about issues that matter to our community, right?
Yes.
So, similarly, you have a platform which actually gets a wider audience than my podcasts do, that you can talk about things,
Yes.
that are about our community. You can educate people about our community, right? As well as
Absolutely. We've done
highlight,
over we just concluded our festival tour, and we went all over the world. We went all over the US, and we've played it for so many different audiences. And one thing is interesting, in Denver, Colorado, which we're also screening the theater there, we sold out both screenings, and there's not a single South Asian person, right? And I always found, and they loved the movie. And it just goes to and then we went to our South Asian audience as well in Seattle and San Francisco and Chicago, New York and Vancouver, and of course they showed up and they supported and they loved the film. But what I love about this particular film is because it's a heist movie and has the romantic elements in there. It's a movie for everybody, right? That's what I feel we need in terms of representation for our community, is that I feel sometimes that we can be really landlocked in our own community, and we're not thinking about other people to come and let them in, and we tend to just kind of hang out with each other. And
yeah.
I want to change that, because I feel, especially as South Asian American, that we are a part of the overall American community first and foremost as well, and that's a big part of our identity being here. And so I want to see other audiences and other stories that we can be a part of that kind of contribute to that overall conversation about being and the diaspora.
No, very true. we are all, we're all one at the end of the day. We are all
Exactly.
one. You'd be surprised at how similar different cultures are. I mean, I have so many
Yes.
friends from different cultures, and we realize when the more we talk, we realize, oh, we have this in our culture too. Oh, we have,
Exactly.
so very, very interesting. Actually, this is a question I'm being asked to ask you. I just got a message. Um, is there any Bollywood or Tollywood or whatever, like, any Indian, in movie industry movie that has influenced you in any way?
I find that a lot of my peers tend to have rejected the Indian film industry in some ways, that they wanted to do something different than that. But I'm not that way. I grew up Shah Rukh Khan, and especially because my family is Telugu speaking. So Tollywood is a huge influence. In my family, all we do is watch movies. So my mother often says that, that I don't know if I should say this, but there'd be times where we'll have a conversation and she'll look at my dad and be like, because you made us wait to watch all these movies as a kid, now he's in the movie industry. It's your fault. she, so I think there's something to that, though. We're just a huge movie going family. And so, yeah, of course, I mean, even RRR, the success of that film, just see it be embraced by, again, non-Indian audiences has been such a joy for me to see that, oh, the storytelling quality, this movie is just as good as any other movie. And I think oftentimes we think about, oh, there's our movies and then there's Hollywood over there, and I feel that we're all telling stories, and that is valid, and that is, to me, a fair game. So I grew up watching all these Telugu movies, and Ravi Teja I'm a fan of, but even Bollywood wise, Shah Rukh Khan. I mean, I used to watch him and think, man, that guy is amazing, as an actor as well as being a performer, and how charismatic he is. So I find that I'm a big fan, especially of
I
the
can see
Tollywood
that.
and South Indian movies.
I can see that. No, good. Good to know that you're not, shunning, you're not like turning away from the movies that you watched while growing up and that your
And to,
parents made you watch.
yeah,
That's
no,
really nice.
I never felt that way. I just genuinely love the movies, and you'll see in Four Samosas as well that there are a couple references. Without giving too much away, there's a little bit of a Bollywood dance sequence in it. We actually created a fake Bollywood movie inspired by Sholay for one of the scenes in it, because in the movie there's a character who wants to become a Bollywood star, and he's looking at the TV, and there's a movie playing, and it's actually Samrat Chakrabarti, who's has played the villain in Vishwarupam and has done a lot of stuff in Indian cinema as well as US. Well, we have him to do a cameo where he plays like a Amitabh Bachchan style guy in a double action role, and it's kind of a
Mhm.
comedy in all of this. So I think if you are able to see Four Samosas, what you'll find is that we embrace where we come from, and it's not about exclusion. It is, like you said, about we're all the same.
Very nice. Like, very nice. I am really excited about this movie and looking forward to it. I mean, for me, my favorite genre is like romantic movies and heist movies. And this
Really? Oh
combines
my
the
gosh.
two. So
This is
I'm like,
perfect then.
it is
This is
perfect.
Yeah.
Last question for you, Wang, before we end this podcast. Um, what would be your message to our community, and not just like, I don't want to single out just the youth or people, the second generation Indian Americans, but to everyone, like, what would be your message, like, if this this is your 2 minutes to tell the community what you want to say to them,
Hmm.
what would be your message to the community?
Uh, hmm. So I'll just give an example because I can't quite to give you a sense of what I want to say. So my uncle in 2017 decided to run for mayor of Madison, Alabama, and uh, and and I thought it was kind of a crazy thing to try and do, especially in Huntsville, Alabama. But seeing him try that was such an inspiration for me, and I think that I would encourage, just if even if it seems crazy, or that, oh, I shouldn't do it, or why, what are people going to think about me, to do those things that we have those things. Like, you started this podcast and you want to act, and we're going to act in a movie together. Like, what, it's not necessarily about, oh, I have to become even the mayor of a city. But if there's something that you've felt that you want to try, and this is for everyone, it's not about our community necessarily, but I find in particular, I'm inspired by moments like that when people in our community do those kinds of things, because it is inspiring. And for me, that's the message I always want to give. And I hope to contribute in that way as well, is to show people that you can try something that it seems absolutely impossible to accomplish, and you can maybe succeed, but if not, you tried, and that is just as much of an inspiration.
Wow. Very inspiring answer, and I don't think, I know you're younger than me, but I don't think age has anything to do with it, because it's like
Absolutely.
when we watch somebody at least go out and try something new out there, and then they can succeed, they can fail. Usually people will know about successes, right, more so than the failures. But then I think it's just inspiring because it lets you be who you are. It lets you do something different than the usual run of the mill stuff. It lets you be a trailblazer, right? And I think you're doing that. You're doing that not only for the second generation, Americans, the youth, like you said, but also everybody, everyone who is a part of our community, and not just our community, but
Absolutely.
anybody out there, anybody who is a part of humanity can
Absolutely.
take something from this message.
Well,
So,
thank you
Venk,
very much for saying that. That's very kind.
and with that, I actually want to thank you for coming on our podcast. It's a short notice. I know you're busy because you have the movie releasing shortly, and then you have a lot of work to do. But thank you so much for taking out the time to be on this podcast to talk to me. I know whenever we meet, we always have very long conversations.
I
So
know.
it really didn't feel like I was interviewing somebody. It just felt like, hey, I just ran into Venk and I'm just having a chat with
I
him.
know. This was a conversation that has been long overdue, but I really enjoyed this, and thank you for having me on.
No, sure. So once again, tell our audience about the screening of the movie in Atlanta.
Correct.
It's the date, the time, the venue, please.
Yes. It's December 4th at 1 p.m. EST at the Digimax Theater in Alpharetta. We'll be doing a screening of Four Samosas, and I hope to see you all there.
Perfect. Thank you for explaining. I mean, I thought it would be better coming from you than from me. But
Oh,
yes,
no,
I will.
absolutely.
I will reiterate. Four samosas sounds yummy to me, like I said at the beginning of the podcast. And from what we heard about the movie, from talking to Wank, it sounds even more interesting. A comedy and a heist at that. So, oh my God, it's such a wonderful combination. So, and more so, even more importantly, I think it is important for us to support the youth, not only the youth, anyone from our community who ventures out and tries to do something adventurous, tries to do something different. I think we should definitely support such people, from such amazing, talented people from our community. So I do hope to see you all at the screening of Four Samosas on Sunday, December 4th. And with that, I'm going to say bye to our guest, Venk. Thank you again. And bye to all of you. And I will see you, all of you, soon again in another fun podcast. Till then, take care. Do go and watch Four Samosas, and then also have Four Samosas while you're watching the movie. Take care. Bye.
Perfect.